Hi, and welcome to Philanthropy Porch Ponderings. I'm Lisa Shimola. You've probably noticed we've changed up the venue again this week. I am not coming to you from my porch. I am coming to you from my living room today. So we actually are going to speak about navigating change today. And when I sat down to film, I encountered numerous amounts of noise outside. We had the yard guys were working down the street again, like they had the other episode. And then once that had subsided, the wind had picked up a little bit. And once I had gotten to a point where that was a little under control, then there was a man walking by rapping, because this is New Orleans and you never know what's going to happen in your neighborhood. So I decided to go ahead and make a quick change and come inside so that I could go ahead and speak with you about navigating change. A few quick reminders before we get started: to like, subscribe, and share this channel. There is a bell icon down below the video, and if you click that, you'll receive a notification each time a new episode is uploaded. Building on what we have been speaking about the last few episodes, talking about avoiding being overwhelmed and how to shift to a positive mindset to get through challenging times. It's also a challenge to navigate change, because change is something that we are always going to deal with in our lives. And whether that is change that is brought upon by yourself and you are in control of that change, maybe the change is being dropped into your lap by someone else. Maybe you are being placed on a new project at work. You found out your boss is leaving and you'll have a new boss. Or maybe you're the one that's going through a job transition yourself. So how can you navigate the steps of change and to get through it as successful and as confident as possible? I think regardless of whether you're inflicting the change or someone is bringing the change into your life, it is to step back and think about what is in your control. And what's in your control is your reaction to the change. And it's important to sometimes just sit back and reflect and not necessarily have an immediate reaction, and to really think about how you'd like to respond to this change. What is the best path moving forward? And a big step on that path moving forward is communicating. I'm a big fan of perhaps over communicating. It might be those 2 communications degrees that I have. However, I do feel that by communicating, you avoid assumptions, and that together we can move forward on a path to get through the change and to get through it successfully. So if you are the one that is creating change that affects others, I invite you to consider how your change impacts those other people in your life. And can you provide solutions for that change and how it might potentially negatively impact their life? So I'll give you a great example. One time when I was leaving a position, I gave more than the required notice because I was mindful of the impact it was going to make on my supervisor and my colleagues and my employer. I was giving notice around the end of November, and in this job I was required to give 4 weeks notice, which would have meant that I would have been leaving the position right at the end of a calendar year. And for my fellow fundraisers out there, you know, end of the calendar year is a prime time for fundraising. We have many donors who will make gifts at the end of a calendar year, particularly if they're interested in the tax benefits for that year. What I offered to do is to give it was about an extra week or week and a half of notice, and to have my last day be in early January so that I could still be available to donors to help them work through those year-end gifts, so that I wasn't adding to the workload of my supervisor or my colleagues. And so I was mindful of that impact, and I came forward with a solution. If change is being brought to you, think about how best you can provide solutions and to help support and to be as helpful as possible. And I think one thing to think about as you are navigating change that is brought to you is just remember that we're all doing the best that we can, and we really need to take things one step at a time. If you don't get too far ahead of yourself with an outcome or jumping to conclusions, you can avoid stress and anxiety for yourself as well as for those around you. So when navigating change, step back and think about what is in your control, which of course is your reaction and how you respond to this change. How can you be mindful of the impact of this change on yourself and others? Provide solutions and just keep a good attitude about everyone doing the best that they can in the situation. I hope this has been helpful for you to navigate change. I also want to announce that I am navigating a big change right now in my life, and this will be one of the last episodes that I'll be in this current location, as I'm in the middle of moving locally here in New Orleans. So there will be a new porch for the Porch Ponderings setup in the coming weeks. Thank you again for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel, and stay fabulous.